for webinar. Okay, there we go. So we'll go over some housekeeping real quick, and then we'll go over what's on the agenda and in our meeting packets to get you familiarized with it. So just real quick, everyone has their parking situation taken care of, either the parking pass or has paid for the parking. Yes or no? If you haven't, Dory can help you, because we do have parking passes, or she can make sure you know what to do. The yellow lot is a good option because it's all day parking for $6, or the street parking is another option. So there's also a sign-in sheet that's going around. So if you haven't signed in on it, make sure that you do. Do you know where that went?
It's right here.
Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you, Julie.
You have everybody introduced so I can track.
Yes, and we'll do introductions in a little bit. And then also for you too, did you get the ordering link for lunch?
We did. I've not
Okay.
heard yet.
Okay, make sure to do that. The cutoff time is 10:15. So it will be delivered around noon. And then we do have breaks built into the schedule, but since it's gonna be a long day until 2 or 4, depending on if you're staying for the training, just take care of yourself. We have bathrooms. If you go out this door, or we're kind of in a little annex, but back to the main hallway where you came out of the elevator. If you're like, you just walked out of the elevator, facing forward a little to the left down that hallway are the bathrooms. And to the other side of that is a drinking fountain. So you could refill your waters there if you need to. And then also in this little annexy hallway thing that we are in, if you go out and follow the hallway to the left, there's a break room, which has a fridge. There's a sink in there. So if you need those are also available. And if you need any help finding them, let one of us know, Dory, or Emily, where's Emily?
She'll be back.
She'll be back. She's also able to help. Oh yeah, eat the food, says Dory. Please.
A bit.
Yes.
Do we have a Wi-Fi password?
Yeah, it's up there on
Right
the
here.
Delk Pass is the password. And the network name is Delk Guest. It's Delk Pass, all lowercase. So simple. Yes, Julie.
Can we give 3 more minutes for whoever didn't order their lunch to order their lunch now, so that everyone will have that done? Or is that right or wrong?
We
Need to go.
Do you need time
Did anybody not?
I think it's just Jeanette. Do you need a couple minutes or? There-
2 people.
Hello. Nice to see you as well. We're just going over some housekeeping stuff, so take a seat. And then we also have agendas over there. And we were just saying to eat all the food, so help us with that. And drink coffee.
And is the blue cooler over there? There's soda, there's coconut water and salt water.
I always think I like it, but then I remember. Yeah, so hopefully someone likes coconut. Did you guys get the lunch order? Okay, perfect. And parking paid. We don't want, I mean, there's no free parking. If you parked somewhere and didn't pay, it's kind of free parking until you get a ticket and then it's free. So, yes.
If we went to the parking lot that Dory was in and we got a orange card and we filled that out and we put it in the vehicle that we're in, is that enough, or do we need to do something else?
No, you're good.
Yep, that's it. So you're all taken care of. I think Ashley did the same thing. So any other questions? Yes.
I just got a message on the Lois Cafe website that the order cutoff time is passed for our group order number.
Oh, Dory. Sorry.
Okay.
Can you? Jeananne tried to order and it said it's past the cutoff time for the order. I thought it was 10:15.
It is.
So,
Yeah, that was my next.
okay. Dory will help with figuring out how to do that. Because I think there's still a way to add orders. We might need to contact them though.
Yeah, there's an override code apparently.
We'll find out about this override
Yes.
code. Okay,
Our cutoff is 10:15.
well, maybe it's 10:15 Mountain Standard.
Yeah.
For some reason. We'll figure it out.
Yes.
Bear with us. We also have these agenda packets, so I'm just gonna go through real quick, what's in them. So first, we have our agenda, which is roughly also what's on screen. Next is the entire PowerPoint. These were also sent out in the Otella pre-reads email, so all the Otella members received this in advance, and we can resend it if you need it. Please let us know. I should probably take a look and see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, I don't see anything yet, but let me know in the chat or just come off of mute if you need these resent. Then we have a copy of the Otella analysis from the Vision Board activity part 2. So this is an updated list of the recommendations that incorporated the elements that were missing from the first time around that were captured. So we'll talk about that more later, but sometimes it's just easier to see it on paper. And then we have the list of questions that are for our activity about building the plan and creating structure. So we have some papers in the room that are kind of spread out. That's what we'll be doing in person, and then online, it's gonna be the mural board. So I can drop that link back in the chat when we get to closer to it. And then lastly is a copy of the bylaws. So we have a couple pieces to discuss on that in our group activity. And then there's a separate, I don't know, 6 or so pages. That is the crosswalk that we'll be talking about. This is the AIAN crosswalk with the updated recommendations. And so it was separated because we were going to try to print it out larger. And this is how it ended up coming together. But that's why it's separate. So you know everything that you have in front of you. Any questions about what's in the packet so far? Anybody online? Just check to make sure. Okay. So far so good. Just spam emails. All right. And then for Otella onboarding, everybody sent in a self-attestation form. It was kind of right around the beginning of the year. So some people filled out a 2025, some people filled out a 2024. So I do have copies of the 2025 self-attestation forms. So if you need to fill out the 2025 version of the form, you can fill it out while you're here, and I can double check and verify for you who still needs one. And if you're online, I'll send an email, not email, I'll send a PDF version of it for you to fill out. And just let me know if you're not sure if you've completed it yet or not. I have the list right in front of me, so. Then where are we now? Okay, training. So the time from 2 to 4 is reserved for the facilitated trainings. So just for clarification, there's 3 components to the Otella committee member training. The first was the boards and commission member training, which a lot of you either completed on your own in Workday or with me in a meeting facilitated. But there's 2 other trainings. They're called information security and then preventing discrimination and harassment. And so far, 4 people completed it. That one doing it here together facilitated. You don't have to log into Workday, which has been kind of a challenge. It can be a bit tricky. So if you're not sure if you've completed those, I can verify for you because I have the list as well. Any questions? Yes, Julie.
Thank you, Dana. I just want to double check. We had an informal email back and forth between us. And you said if we're not able to stay for the 2 to 4 session, that we can make arrangements with you to fulfill those requirements if we haven't done them already. I don't think that I've done those. I did the first one with you and we worked back and forth until we got it done. But I don't think that I've done these other 2 things. Does that offer still stand?
Yeah, that offer still stands. So if you're in person, you have to go, or if you have something else and you're virtual and you have to go, we can set up another time for it, whether it's like at the tail end of a future Otella meeting or another one-on-one time. It's up to you. Or if you are leaving, since it's virtual, you would be able to log in and have it going on your phone while you're heading back home, since I know you have a long drive, so that's also an option. But
Thank you for making those accommodations. I'm not trying to cause you trouble or create a problem, but I appreciate you being able to be flexible and like letting us come at a different time to fulfill that requirement.
Yeah, absolutely. So just let me know. We just have to, the preventing discrimination and harassment and the information security or cybersecurity training are both annual requirements. So we have to do those every year. So we will get them done somehow, some way. We as state employees have to do those every year too. So it says it takes like an hour, but it can probably go faster because they're, we get used to them. So again, this is our first in-person meeting and it's important. And so we're excited that you're here and it's one of the steps to move forward. So in honor of us all getting together, we do have Remy from our comms team here. He has a really fancy camera, so he can take pictures. We would love to do a group picture, and he's made the executive decision that outside would be best because of the diffused lighting with the clouds. So unless any of you are opposed to that, doing group picture of Otella outside, we would love to be able to feature that in like an article for our bi-monthly newsletter. And then also another thing that we could do if you're interested in it is on our Otella website, we have everybody's name and the tribe listed. And if we want to do individual photos, we could have your picture next to it. And we could even go another step and like have a baby picture next to your picture, because like this is early learning and how cool would that be? So any thoughts on outside pictures, individual pictures?
I'm good with outside picture for everybody. I'm good with the picture beside the names, because it's nice to be able to see the person with their name. And like we see a lot on the Zoom. And so I feel like I know a lot of people by seeing them on the Zoom, but it's neat to have the picture. I don't know if that's possible or not, but that's nice. I'm not sure about the baby picture because I don't know how many of us have a baby. If it's supposed to be a baby picture of us, if it can be a baby picture of any baby, then I got a lot of babies. I don't. But I don't.
Just put up a random baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can do a picture, and we'll after we go through the rest of the housekeeping, we'll get that done and then we can come back and move into the rest of our agenda. I do have some goodie bags at the back that I put together just as a thank you for being here, for traveling, and it's really appreciated. It's not fancy, but it's just some fun little things for you. So please grab one before you leave. And then the last thing, did you print the survey by chance? Okay, before the end of the day, are you able to? Okay. We will also have a post-meeting survey. We'll have paper copies as well as online the link shared virtually. And there's also a QR code. So the purpose of that is just so that we do a better job of hosting effective meetings, and they're anonymous surveys, and feedback is really a gift. So before you leave, if you wouldn't mind taking that survey, it'd be greatly, greatly appreciated. So we can do pictures, and then we can come back in to do the intros and the team building activity. Folks online, we can do, Remy, can you describe what you were just taking a screenshot of people online?
Yeah, so it would be full screen.
Yeah.
We'll stop sharing that screen.
Yes.
And then we'll have everyone turn on their cameras and we'll do a screenshot and almost as if they're doing a group photo, so.
Okay. I don't know, did you all hear that online?
Yep.
Okay. So those online or Otella, you can come on camera for a screenshot picture.
You'll be included in the group photo.
So yeah, you'll be included in the group photo.
One.
There's Barb. Then we need Jesse and Jennifer. And then should we, Remy, since like Emily and I are not, we're just on here, should we leave, or are you just gonna move our squares out?
I'll cut off, so you're.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this turn to put a couple links in the chat. Oh, yeah.
We're gonna do the screenshot.
Promoting them to panelists. They should have a pop-up.
Oh, okay. If you might have just gotten a pop-up that promotes you to a panelist. So that just means that you can come off of camera, come off mute and participate. So that we can do our online participant picture. So Amber, I'm glad that you're here. All right, I think, is that everybody, or, oh, there's still TJ.
On camera right now.
Okay. Then I think we're good to do our screenshot. You wanna
You know,
take the screenshot and then send it to Remy? Will you make the top thing go away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we all
Who
smile?
wants to do the countdown? 3, 2, 1, smile. Volunteer?
Everybody smiling? Is everybody?
Okay, everyone smile. 3, 2, 1. Okay,
Hey,
all right.
let's do it one more time.
Okay, hold on one more time.
I'm gonna do it different. This is up.
We're, okay. Countdown?
Is there a different way to do this on screenshot?
Remy,
make sure
is
you're
there
not
another way
close
to do it?
The screen too.
Huh?
Make sure you're not too close to your camera too up here. There you go. Let me see your full face. There with it.
Are you doing control shift S or control shift whatever? Okay,
Uh-oh.
Oh no, hold on.
There we go.
One more time.
They were
Okay.
frozen.
all right,
Oh, one more time.
this is,
We're gonna count to 3.
okay, you're a professional, Remy, so count
Okay.
them down.
You all ready? You're gonna hold that smile for like a couple, maybe a minute. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Smile. Keep smiling.
Oh, you all look wonderful.
Hope you're all still smiling. There you go. Thank you.
Okay,
Make sure to
cool.
save that.
Thank you. Okay, now you can take a break, a little break, people online, because that was a lot of work. We're gonna head outside real quick, and we'll hope to be back in about 10 minutes or less. So if you're available online by 9:48, that would be amazing. Okay, Remy, we're gonna keep on going. So, that was fun. We'll do our intros and our little activity to get us bonded, and then we'll take a little break. And then we'll dive into a whole bunch of content. So I want people to be prepared for what's to come. Then, policies and meeting, okay. Well, I'm not gonna go to that, sorry. Then, with, the intros, well, let me tell you what we're gonna get into after we do our, team building and come back from break. We're gonna go into the elements of the tribal early learning plan as well as OTELA structure. And so, there's some background context that we want to make sure to cover before we start thinking on it more. So that's where a lot of content is coming from. Any questions about that? I know it's kind of vague, but. Then let's do a quick round of introductions. We'll do in person and then we'll go online. If you could share your name, the organization or tribe that you represent, tribal affiliation, your job title, and just for fun, what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a child? So, I created the question, so I have an answer already, so I can start. So my name is Dana Castano. I'm a Turtle Mountain Chippewa. I work for DELC as the Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance liaison. And when I was a child, my mom she still is a nurse. And so that's what I wanted to be, as a nurse.
Hi, I'm Carrie McCann. I'm from DELC and I'm the Director of Policy and Strategy. And when I was little, I wanted to be a veterinarian.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Angie Butler. I am a Siletz tribal member and I work for Oregon Health Authority and Behavioral Health as a tribal behavioral health continuum of care advisor. And I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up, and I'm still kind of growing up, but I guess I was a teacher for a little while. So yeah.
Hello, I'm Sonia Marie Curado. I'm enrolled Sluts and a descendant of Tolowa Dene, and I am an education specialist for the Sluts tribe. And if there's anything that really comes to mind, I thought I wanted to be when I grew up.
I'm Ashley Webb. I'm a member of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. I currently am the site supervisor for our early childhood education program. And I wanted to be lots of things, but as a true child of the 90s, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Hi, everyone. My name is Janan Koto, and I'm a citizen of the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians. We're located in northern Lower Michigan, and I'm here visiting from Michigan. I work for First Children's Finance, and we are contracted with DELC's Office of Affairs to do some work to help develop pathways for tribes and tribal families to access the employment-related daycare funding. So we're here to do some listening and learning and report feedback from tribes to DELC. And when I was younger, in the early 90s, I was like late grade school, going into junior high, and I loved the X-Files, and so I wanted to be an FBI agent so that I could find aliens.
I'm Julie Seastrom. I'm Hannes Coos, and I serve on our tribal council for our Confederated Tribes of the Coos, Lower Umpqua and Sayuspa. And I'm also serve on the OTELA board with Sonia as co-chair for a couple of years now. And when I was a kid and all I wanted to do was to be an artist. And I've made a lot of art in my life, but I haven't been a full-time artist, so it's a part of my life. It's not.
Jemiah Wassman, I'm the education director for the Coos, Long Pond, Sayuspa Indians, and I oversee education programming there. And I guess the career I wanted when I was a child was to become a musician. So learned to play several instruments, and it's still a big part of my life.
Tots Maybe. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Johnson. I'm an enrolled member of the Nez Perce tribe, and I have Yakima and Umatilla descendancy. I work at the Northwest Native Chamber as the Tribal Technical Assistance Specialist. And so we do a lot of work in regards to, DELC and our tribal site visits, which you'll hear more about later today, but it's a pleasure to hold space with you all. When I was younger, I wanted to be a playwright. So I felt like all the artists just sat together, but I wanted to write plays and I wanted to tell Indigenous stories.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amber Face. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Coquel Indian tribe, and I'm also a Coos and Sayusla descendant. I serve as the programs officer at the Northwest Native Chamber. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but just high level, we're a nonprofit organization serving tribes and Native American individuals across Oregon, Washington, and Idaho in business and economic development. It's funny. I was thinking about when I was a child and the span of time that actually covers of like when you're, growing up and you're thinking about all of the different things that you want to be. So I was thinking about all those different iterations and I think the one that comes to mind is actually a photographer and spent many years actually like, doing that and in journalism and whatnot. But it's been really heartening to hear everyone's kind of like joy and connection with like creating and building.
Thank you, everyone. And now we can go to our online participants. So whoever wants to start and then just popcorn it to somebody else.
I'll go first. Hi, Chela, Alyssa Lane, Mom Nashi. Hello, everyone. Alyssa Lane. I'm the Education Director for the Confederated Tribes of Select Indians. I wish I was there in person with you all. I'm happy that this meeting got scheduled, but also really thankful for a hybrid option this week. When I was younger, health field, or so I thought. And I ended up getting a public health degree and then putting that to good use in our education department. So kind of the best of both worlds.
Pastor Lloyd.
I can go next. Alyssa Chatterjee. I'm the director of the Department of Early Learning and Care. Sorry, I can't be with you all. I've got a cold that I'm sure nobody wants. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a teacher as well. So still get to be in that space.
I'll go next. Good morning. My name is Jamie Crane. I am a member of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, where I am also the education director. And when I was younger, I always wanted to be an archaeologist.
I can go. Good morning. I'm Barb Shelton. I'm a descendant of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. I work for the Coquel Indian tribe on the coast. I'm the Head Start director, and growing up, I was determined I was going to be a cruise director. So far-fetched, far from what I'm doing, but that's okay. I work closely with Becky Cantrell. She's our director and who's usually here, but she thought she needed a vacation. So she's sweating to death in Vegas at 116 today. So
Well, Wakadu, good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse Jackson. I'm the Education Programs Officer for Cow Creek Band Umpqua Tribe of Indians. Happy to be here today. When I heard this question, I was laughing. So my mom would really like to hear this answer because when I was young in the late 80s, I was born in the early 80s, formed a lot of memories in that late 80s period. We call it the dump. Some of you might know it as the transfer site. But boy, seeing the guy that worked there having a uniform and getting first crack at all of the awesome stuff that people were bringing, it was my intention to grow up to be wearing that uniform and be managing the Myrtle Creek transfer site. Thank you for your time.
Okay, I'll go. My name is Jennifer Rice. I'm with the Higher Education Coordinating Commission. And I think that what's really funny is you have Artist Corner in the room, but we have Archaeologist Lane online. I really wanted to be an archaeologist as a kid as well. I think maybe I just watched The Mummy or Indiana Jones, too many times. But that was the direction I thought that I would go as a kid.
Tatsmewi, Lloyd Commander here. Sorry couldn't be there. Had to report to jury duty anyway. No trial today. Anyway, I am the Tribal Affairs Director for Delk, and I've been here 6 months. Been a great experience. And who hasn't gone yet?
I'll go. I am Catherine Stelzer from ODHS Child Welfare, one of the state representatives. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a flight attendant until my auntie, who was a flight attendant, told me a nightmare story of spilling the sick bags, and that kind of changed my mind on that. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. I am going to have to hop off at 11 for a little while, and I will rejoin later when I get out of my meetings. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Amber Weller. I work for the Burns Paiute Tribe. Currently, we are under evacuation for a fire that's getting very, very close to the tribe. So I will be in and out today. I am the K through 12 teacher for the after school program and for the preschool. It is very smoky here. Maybe you guys can see that. So I am in the midst of helping with any evacuation relief I can, because my house is currently not under level 3 evacuation. So I will also be hopping on and off as I am needed elsewhere today. But when I was growing up, I kind of transitioned between several different things. My first one was a veterinary, and another one was a teacher. And then I always wanted to own a plant/bakery shop. And now I'm a teacher and I still want to own a shop.
Right, Renee. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Renee Gunther, and I'm with the Department of Early Learning and Care as a grant management specialist for tribal grants. And when I was younger, I also wanted to be a teacher or a doctor, something that was very astute and respected when I was younger. So that's where my brain went. And I will pass it back to you.
Wonderful. So we're a little bit behind on the agenda. So we were gonna do an activity. However, so that we can get caught back up, I think we'll hold it. We'll take a break and see if we have time for it a little bit later. So we can take about, let's see, do we think, Remy, can photos for like one person at a time? There's 5 people be done in 10 minutes, do you think? Okay.
Okay, no good.
All right. Well, let's be back at like 10, let's just say 10, 25 then. We'll give it enough time. 10:25. I'm gonna send the self-attestation form in the email for those online, and I'll send you if you need the 2025 form, I'll put it on there, so that you know you're one of them. And then I'll connect with people in person. And then we'll do the hard content. And then for the individual photos.
Yeah, let's know.
But you could just take up in meeting, we're gonna be doing an activity with like these papers.
I'll hold on a little bit.
All right, Dory, if you wanna go to slide number 7, please. All right, so at the last meeting, a request was made for a vision statement for Otella. So I prepared a draft mission and vision statement. So I'd love to get input on it, but before sharing those, I do want to do a quick overview of how we got here, how the bill was created, and what Otella's purpose and structure is based on the bill that created it. So this is, I'll go through it relatively quickly since we have looked at it before, but in case anyone wasn't here, or, you know, if you don't remember everything, because we have other work and lots of other things to remember, just want to touch on it. So in 2021, House Bill 2055, the Tribal Hub Statute passed, which formed the Tribal Advisory Committee, which was made up of tribally appointed representatives. And the purpose of the Tribal Advisory Committee was to advise DELC on how to create a tribal early learning hub. And that would ultimately, the Tribal Advisory Committee ultimately determined that a tribal hub model wouldn't work in order to maintain tribal sovereignty and to maintain the government to government relationship. So 2024, the recommendation from Tribal Advisory Committee was to create a model of funding the tribes directly, which over time became House Bill 2815, the Tribal Early Learning Plan and Fund. And that gives tribes flexibility in designing how they're utilizing the funds for early learning and care services. And it directs DELC to do a couple things: to develop a statewide early learning and care plan for Native children birth to age 8, and establishes Otella, creates the grant program for tribes, and outlines DELC's responsibilities, which include tribal consultation, rulemaking, administering the fund, and both developing and implementing the statewide plan, which already the plan itself in statute, it says it must include these objectives, which could accomplish these strategies. So we must incorporate those things. And they're on the AIAN crosswalk document, the separate document in your packet, that's that first page, is what those objective strategies are. All right, next slide, please. Otella's responsibilities are advising DELC on developing and implementing the fund and plan, and also distribution response from DELC for technical assistance, professional development, infrastructure, or any other needs as the tribes identify, identifying or advising DELC on any subject related to the delivery of culturally and linguistically appropriate early childhood care or education services. And Otella can also create Oregon administrative rules for its operation. Next slide. So Otella membership is really broken down into those who can vote and those who can't. Voting membership are only the tribes, the tribally appointed representatives. Tribes can appoint up to 2 representatives each. And tribes are also able to indicate when they've made those appointments, if their Otella representatives have authorization to perform formal consultation as well, part of their role. The non-voting members consist of the advisory community members, at least 2 educators or providers and 2 parents or caregivers, and the agency representatives. So basically, tribes are the decision makers, but community perspective and expertise is included. So that was the background. Before we go into the draft vision statement and look at that, are there any questions? And Dory, if you see anything on Zoom, will you let me know in case I missed it?
I've tried, it's not popping up.
Okay.
I'm presenting.
I don't see anything. All right, we can go to the next one. All right, so this is our draft vision statement. Just because there's a little bit of difference between mission and vision, I separated them out. And I was hoping we could discuss them together. So we can read through each of this slide and then the following slide. And I'd just really like to know what your thoughts are about if it reflects Otella's purpose and work, and maybe if there's changes that you would like to see. So I can read it out loud if that would be helpful. The Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance envisions a coordinated and sovereignty-centered tribal early learning system in which the 9 federally recognized tribes define the goals, priorities, and strategies guiding early learning and care for tribal children from prenatal through age 8. This vision ensures culturally and linguistically appropriate access to early learning resources, supports the revitalization of tribal languages and cultures, and fosters strong, healthy, and engaged families. Through sustained tribal state partnerships, the Tribal Early Learning Plan establishes a unified framework that strengthens educational outcomes, advances cultural continuity, and supports the long-term well-being of tribal nations and future generations. All right, and then the draft mission statement. The Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance's mission is to advise the Department of Early Learning and Care on the development, implementation, and continuous improvement of the Tribal Early Learning Plan and the Tribal Early Learning Fund, ensuring both are aligned with tribal sovereignty and the priorities of the 9 federally recognized tribes. Otella fulfills this mission by guiding the distribution of funding, evaluating DELC's administration of the plan, recommending technical assistance, professional development, and system improvements, and adopting administrative rules necessary for effective governance. In partnership with tribal nations, Otella ensures early learning systems honor tribal sovereignty, expand access to culturally grounded programs and curricula, strengthen the tribal early learning workforce, and support the holistic development of tribal children, families, and communities. All right, we can go back a slide, Dory. Actually go back 2 slides. Go ahead, Julie.
Thank you, Shannon. Is it okay to ask you a question?
Absolutely.
And this is to everybody too. Do we need to put in that this is something that we want in perpetuity? Or we don't mark that because we don't want to put any kind of time frame on it? I'm asking for.
I think it would be fine to add it. Are there any other thoughts about having in perpetuity? I think that would help with reflecting, that the work, it's going to go on for a very, very long time. It's not something that it's not going to end anytime soon.
Yeah, I just come from the short time that I've been involved with it from fall 2021 until now, and the changes that it's gone through from fall 21 until now. And there's like different things that happen by the year and that kind of thing. But if we put the general word in there in perpetuity, that we're going to do these things for for an open-ended amount of time, it's not going to end in 2026 or 2027 or whatever. It's just from now on.
Mm-hmm.
That was my thought behind it. I don't know if that's okay or not.
It would be the work changes, but the vision doesn't. The reason that we're here will remain the same, but the work may shift and change around that, which would be more the mission. Would you put it right after future generation? Julie?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So so what I'm hearing is to add in perpetuity at the end of the draft vision statement. So that it would read, that it supports the long-term well-being of tribal nations and future generations, comma, in perpetuity. Is that what you were saying?
If it's acceptable to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you need if you need a vote on that or not.
I think we could take a vote to adopt these mission and vision statements. I guess, let's stay on the vision statement for a little bit longer, and then we'll look at the mission statement. Are there any other things that in the draft vision statement that should be changed? Anything that's missing, or is there anything that sounds confusing? I don't hear anything in the room.
I was also thankful to read in the draft vision that you put in tribal languages. Valerie Schweitzer, that's always something that was important to her, so I'm glad to see that those two words are here.
Yeah, what I did this work, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be glad to read that when she does.
Okay. Well, let's look over to the draft mission statement then, and kind of the same thing. Is there anything that's missing in the language? Or sorry, we just looked at the mission. We're looking at the draft vision statement now. Is there anything that's missing? Anything that you would suggest changing? Anything that's confusing? Yeah.
I don't know, it's the 9 federally recognized tribes of Oregon.
Okay, so adding in the.
And then I really like the I can't even say the word.
Perpetuity.
But I just worry about like somebody reading that and it being not from an education perspective, like maybe not knowing what it is. What that means. So
forever?
Huh?
Forever?
Yeah. I think when we're writing things like this, it's important for people like age, I think, what do they say through?
Like an 8th grade reading level?
Yeah, 9th grade. Yeah, I think it's 9th grade reading. So that anybody could pick it up and know what it means.
Would forever be acceptable as opposed to perpetuity?
Yeah, I mean,
You said something like an ongoing, like that it's an ongoing vision, wording it like that way we're not, putting ourselves in a sort of specific time frame, we're just saying ongoing as things could be. Okay. That's better.
Okay, so maybe language that gets to the point of in perpetuity that is more understandable, like ongoing or continuously. I know we say a lot, like in Native communities, we see like for the next 7 generations. Would that be language we might want, or would that
cuts it off at 7 generations?
Yeah, well,
they want it forever.
But we get the right, but it gets the idea across. We're not really stopping it at 7. Okay, so
that goes backwards.
For future, no, I guess that's not really a thing.
Infinity and beyond.
Okay, so it sounds like the next step then for the statements, to make a small edit, 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon or of Oregon, and to workshop the language a little bit to reflect that the work is forever. And then we can bring those back and for the next meeting. Does that sound like a good plan? And vote on them then.
I mean, you could even do as simple as like well-being of tribal nations and all future generations.
That works.
I like it.
That works.
That sounds good.
Okay. So for the draft vision statement, what would be changing then is the last sentence would then be, and supports the long-term well-being of tribal nations and all future generations. And instead of saying federally recognized tribe, the 9 federally recognized tribes, it would be the 9 federally recognized tribes in Oregon. Does anyone have a preference of in Oregon versus of Oregon? For
I
the
like
9 federally recognized tribes?
I think.
Of, okay.
I think DHS says in a lot and OHA says of.
Okay. And online, preference for of versus in Oregon?
Of.
Okay. Thanks, Alyssa. Any other thoughts on changes for the vision or mission statement?
I also liked how you spelled out the Oregon Tribal Early Learning Alliance, and then you put the acronym in parentheses. Because sometimes when I'm reading different documents, when not just in this setting, but in other settings, it'll be full of acronyms, and they won't have the list at the end that'll tell you what the acronyms are. So then I need to go over and research what the acronyms are. So it's nice of you to do that there. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So then with those changes on the draft vision, Dory, can you switch it back to the draft mission statement?
Where is that?
Probably the one right after.
Oh.
The 2 are right next to each other, so, okay. So for this one then, what we would change here is that, support the holistic development. The language here would need to be changed a little bit more than for the in perpetuity part. So I can work on that. We can probably.
You could just end it with for all future generations and all, you know.
And community. Okay, yeah. So at the end, then what it would say is, and support the holistic development of tribal children, families, and communities for all future generations.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then would we like to take a vote to adopt these? It's up to you all, not me.
You have 8 out of 9 people here. 8 out of 9 tribes here.
We have 5, right? 5 tribes.
3 here, I can't see.
Yeah, we have.
If there is an actual.
You have here and online.
Okay. Sure, I can track that. Well, if we want to vote on it, we do have quorum. So, which would be 5 of 9 tribes, so.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Sonia, is this something that we need to have more time, everybody go take it home and look at it, reread it and that kind of stuff and do next time, or should we go ahead and move it forward now? I haven't done this often enough to know. You've done all these kind of things a lot.
How many of the tribe, I mean, we have quorum, it could pass and remain. But do we want to give a period of time for response if someone?
We definitely can. I think it's either way would be fine, because this would be a helpful thing to have to guide the work, but we also don't want to rush either, so.
Some of the tribes have their second person here and some don't. In online, so just to take it back, because
yeah, make sure we get
and ask for a date for submissions, which I wouldn't put very far out, because
Okay.
from previous, if it's out there too long, then it doesn't get addressed. If you could ask for feedback in a specific time frame.
Okay.
What's a reasonable time for? 2 weeks, 30 days?
I would say 2 weeks should be good, for gathering feedback. And then that feedback, if any is received, could be shared, at the next OTELA meeting, which is, that's 2 more weeks out.
I would at least ask for 3, just because
3,
the
okay.
tribes with the fires right now and learning going on, other things going on, there's like a lot happening right now for, I think, a 2-week turnaround time. Several of the tribes are getting ready for their big powwows, and they're within our department. So I would say at least.
We could, since we do have another OTELA meeting on August 25th, we could just say feedback by the next OTELA meeting and
Pass
then.
it at that meeting.
Yes. Yeah, okay. And that way everyone has enough time, so hopefully. All right. Well, that sounds good. Thank you, everyone, for the feedback.
And I would just put in, like, when you're sending it out, just that it will be passed at the next meeting, so they know that's their time frame to give input.
Okay, we can definitely do that. Okay. So, slide 12, I think that's the one after this. Perfect. So this is gonna be part of the activity with the papers or the mural board for those who are online. Just even though we haven't adopted it, that does give us a better framing for OTELA's purpose, but there's also, you know, how OTELA operates and what its structure is. So what's on screen are just some ideas for consideration along with the draft bylaws. And so in the activity, we'll gather your perspectives. But first, we're gonna go into the tribal early learning plan elements. And so we'll look at the tribal early learning plan elements and how OTELA functions all together as we will go in at the different stations, and then online it will all just be together. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Next slide. Okay, yeah, one more. Okay, we're gonna go through these 2 things. So this is gonna be really helpful for our breakout group for the activity we're gonna be doing. So the summary, the first thing is the analysis of combined feedback from last month. So if you weren't here or don't remember what that was for, in our first OTELA meeting, we looked at like a brainstorm of these are the goals we want, this is the vision for tribal early learning, and got that first round of input. And then we presented it back in the second OTELA meeting and wanted to make sure, like, is this right? What are we missing? Are things misrepresented? And so this gives us that feedback basically of like how we analyzed it and where things were missing. And so we can go to the next screen or the next slide, sorry. Okay, so overall, the feedback showed that the goals and the way that the recommendations were put together was accurate. But there's still some gaps, like the definitions of some terms were still needing to be defined. And the other area, we did look at, like, are these things that are short-term goals, medium or long-term, which were defined as this biennium, next biennium, or the biennium after that, 2029 or further. And those kind of, in the analysis that I did, were kind of all over the place. Like some people or some groups had the same goal in long term that another group had in medium term, that a different group put in short term. So how we prioritize is kind of a question that I think will help narrow that down. So that we're categorizing things more accurately. The other thing that I think, just to highlight is there were positive affirmations of themes that resonated, like the importance of cultural and language integration, challenges with workforce, challenges with being rural, like transportation barriers, and then grant and other administrative burdens. We'll go to the next slide. So before we had presented back like 6 key themes, and in last meeting we asked what was missing, and so a couple more themes kind of became apparent. So now we have 9 themes, and I've kind of been going back and forth between calling them themes and recommendations. So I'll probably use those terms interchangeably. The next slides go into more detail, and there's also the document that has them detailed for you as well. So next slide will, okay, culturally and linguistically grounded early learning, which means that early learning centers tribal culture, language, and identity, and traditional knowledge, which includes things like tribal language training, tribal language immersion, and healing-centered and culturally restorative practices. Families as first teachers, which focuses on strengthening family and child relationships, intergenerational connections, and supports such as home visiting, family engagement, and transportation. Next, tribal early learning workforce development, which looks at several things from addressing workforce shortages, requiring tribal designed pathways and supports such as credentialing, vocational ECE programs, funding structures that support retention and competitive wages, and then recruitment of specialized positions such as like reading specialists and early childhood special education and early intervention specialists and so on. And then infrastructure and facilities expansion. So this kind of combines a couple different things in order to, for tribes to have access to and provide quality early learning. So expanded facilities, infant toddler capacity, and transportation are a couple of things. So we're about halfway through. Yes.
Is it okay to ask you a question now or not?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the number 3 part where it says tribal early learning workforce development, when you go down 1, 2, 3, the third bullet is to talk about credential and professional development that honor tribal knowledge. If we have somebody or 2 somebodies who have been researching, developing and teaching our languages independent of a college program of any kind, it's just something that they've been doing for like anywhere from 10 to a dozen or more years. Would that experience and work performance allow them to get some kind of credential that works in non-tribal system? Or?
Yeah, the idea is that we would be able to, because right now, the early childhood, so we have this whole credentialing system, and the way that professional development and education are recognized doesn't necessarily include tribal knowledge really at all. There was rulemaking, which I know you gave input and a couple other tribes did. We did tribal consultation, but input about including tribal knowledge. So that is part of the idea, but it's actually like including that as part of our tribal early learning plan, so that that's one of the goals, that we make that happen. So like ODE, for instance, in their plan, they had something similar, and they have a tribal language, American Indian language teaching license, I think is what it is. And so it functions basically for K-12, that someone who doesn't necessarily have to have any kind of teaching credentials, but they can through their tribe, they're like certified or whatever the process is, that they speak that language, they can have a teaching license for that native language. So it'd be to like have something similar, but in the early childhood version.
But I'm just thinking of two people that we have that, like I said, they've done that. As far as like their life path, that's what they've chosen, and we've supported that, and they're bringing our languages back, and our members are picking up the languages anywhere from the littles to the elders. It's a cross section of people and that kind of stuff. We're very much in the beginning stages of it. However, we have recognized these two people as teachers of our languages within our nation. But it's just a matter of whether or not that's going to work in the non-tribal world or not. So that's why I'm asking about it. So, and I worked in the non-tribal world as a teacher most of my life, so I'm familiar with all of those hoops and scoops that you got to go through to get all that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking.
No, that's exactly right. That's the kind of people that would benefit from something like this, which then in turn, all of the other, the students, the children would benefit from them being able to teach without whatever barriers might be in place for someone that doesn't have.
And did I understand you right that ODE has already set up something? That's some kind of a license?
It's actually Teacher Standard and Practices that has the license, and they can teach in any public school. The tribe certifies that they deem them to be fluent. They have to reach a certain capacity, and then the tribe, and they sign off on it, and they send the documentation to Teacher Standard Practice, and they can get a limited license to teach in public schools.
Wonderful. They may have it already, and I just don't know it because we have one of our members is able to get U of O college language credit, and then another one just got high school biliteracy credit. So that they may have those things already that I just don't know. That's wonderful.
Well, your tribe you would probably know, because you would have to probably pass a resolution to move them forward to send the letter to Teacher Standard and Practice, because the tribe is the one that certifies that they deem them to be fluent in the language to teach.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay, so funding stability and alignment with tribal systems, and then system alignment, coordination, and policy flexibility. So I guess these probably could be combined into one, but I'll just go through each of them separate because they are a little bit different. So with the first, funding stability and alignment with tribal systems, it focuses on funding being structured to support tribal sovereignty, operational stability, and long-term planning. And so that includes things like non-competitive set-asides for tribes, long-term funding cycles that match tribal timelines, considerations of things, annual program fluctuations and enrollment mobility, reducing administrative burden and grant timelines, and then funding, which also recognizes the full cost of indirect rates and operational needs. And then the next one is tribes having aligned systems from prenatal through early elementary. And I realize the first bullet point probably doesn't need to be there, which is systems that clearly define coordinated systems. That's something that, I mean, maybe it does need to be there, but that was something that came up in the feedback, like what is a coordinated system? And also implementation expectations aren't always clear. So maybe that should be there. But strengthening sovereignty centered or sovereignty line governance structures, supporting cross-agency collaboration, and improving the state tribal consultation process, and also identifying and uplifting current successful tribal early learning models. So just gonna check in on any thoughts so far. There's two more recommendations still to look at, but is anything sounding wrong or any anything really sticking out to you?
I was glad to see on number 5, where it said, the first bullet where it talks about automatic tribal set-asides across the state grant program, non-competitive. I was glad to see that.
Yeah, definitely. All right, then next slide. Okay. Sorry, I said 2 more. There's 3 more. So whole child holistic approaches, so early learning systems supporting physical, emotional, cognitive, and spiritual development of tribal children by funding culturally grounded holistic programming and integrating trauma-informed and healing-centered practices. Then addressing historical trauma and structural inequities so that tribal children and families continue experiencing impacts of historical trauma. And so systems should embed restorative and healing-centered practices, prioritize long-term strategies to reduce structural inequities, and ensure flexibility so that addressing historical trauma is not isolated, but is part of the early learning. And then lastly is values and community vision. And this looks at reflecting long-term goals shared by tribes. And in order to do so, systems should do several things, such as incorporating tribal values into policy frameworks, ensuring that all tribal children have access to programs that meet community needs, and supporting expansion of programming based on tribes' visions. Which I guess 7 and 8 probably could, go back one, sorry. 7 and 8 might be able to be combined into one single area, but curious if there's.
I think it's good you got them separate.
Okay, thank you for that feedback.
Also, it's nice to hear you read the word spiritual over on number 7, with the whole child holistic approaches to support the physical, emotional, cognitive, and spiritual development. It's nice to read.
Thank you. Any other, anyone concerned or like any particular part of this? Seem like too many recommendations. You'll get more chances to give feedback. So let's pull up the AIN crosswalk, please. The Excel version of it. Okay, we're gonna take a look at the AIN crosswalk. And that will kind of lead us into our activity. Perfect. So as Dory gets that pulled up, it is also, it was also shared in the email, so you can access it online if you need to. It's the only spreadsheet that was shared. Those of you who are part of the Tribal Advisory Committee, this probably sounds familiar. But we're sharing this because this was a project that the Tribal Advisory Committee undertook before the Tribal Early Learning Plan bill was created. And it basically crosswalks the elements from the Oregon Department of Education's American Indian Alaska Native Student Success Plan with early learning. So it looked at what similar benchmarks would be used in the early learning space and what metrics we might be able to use. And then that was kind of used when we created the legislation for what is now the Tribal Early Learning Plan. And then with what Otella has done over the first couple of meetings, I added that as well as the legislation. There's objectives and strategies in the legislation, which is on the second tab down at the bottom. So just as an example, we can look at the first line on the vision board tab, which is promoting in the purple, that's the AIA and crosswalk, the work that the Tribal Advisory Committee did. So promote tribal history, shared history. The matched action, that's every early learning program in Oregon would implement historically accurate, culturally embedded, place-based, contemporary, and developmentally appropriate curriculum, and so on, with an outcome of students receiving tribal history, shared history in pre-K, and learning about the federally recognized tribes of Oregon. So that doesn't exactly match early learning. It's not usually students, it's usually children, and we don't have curriculum authority, but either way, this does match to the themes and recommendations from OTELA's visioning board work. So in the blue, the theme of culturally and linguistically grounded early learning with the recommendation of early learning systems that include that center tribal language, culture, identity, and traditional knowledge. And then the strategies support over in the first column to the left, objectives and strategies that are in the statute. It ties back to objective 3, strategies A and C. So objective 3 is support culturally responsive curricula. And the strategies tie back to that as well, which are on that other tab. So for instance, we can use a similar kind of structure in creating the tribal early learning plan, because we've done a lot of the what, and I think if we were to, you're welcome to look at this entire document. It could be very helpful, but you definitely don't have to in order for us to do this next activity. But every single objective and strategy are accounted for. Every single theme and recommendation from OTELA's visioning activities are tied to one of the objectives that came from the AIA and crosswalk that the Tribal Advisory Committee did. So nothing should be missing now. If we were to take the input we've gotten thus far, we probably could put together a draft of a tribal early learning plan and have all of the elements. But I think what's missing is we still want to know, like, how do we want you to tell us otherwise? And we also want to know how you think would be the best way to structure the plan. So that's what we're going to start working on. We can go back to the slide deck, Dory. There's kind of like an instructions slide. Okay. So on the virtual participants, you'll be using the mural board. So you'll see the questions laid out there. There's digital sticky notes. So there's 4 main questions. Sorry, that's not true. There's 5 main questions. And then in each of those questions, there's some more detailed kind of like thought-provoking questions. That's the same thing that's in the room. So there's 2 at the back because those questions are very similar to each other. There's one by this screen over here. And then there's that one over by the door. And and then there's that one on the, what is that thing? The easel, right on the other side of this structure coming out. So you can use actual sticky notes. We have them kind of next to the stations, or you can write with the pens directly on the paper, whatever works better for you. And then those more in-depth thought-provoking kind of questions are, there's in the room a paper copy on the wall, as well as sitting next to wherever the pens and sticky notes are. You don't have to answer all of those additional questions, but if it's helping you with your thought process as you're thinking through things, then go for it. And then in Mural, you'll be doing the same thing. On Mural, there's also, do you want to pull up the Mural board? And you don't need to log into Mural. Oh, Emily, thank you for putting the link to it in the chat. I appreciate it, because then I don't have to do it. So on Mural, there's also a spot for parking lot. So if there's something else that comes to mind, then you can just enter as a visitor. Just click enter, unless you don't want to be visiting Raccoon, you can. Yeah, so if you zoom in, there you go. Up in that corner is the parking lot, up on the top right. And then, yeah, there's the 5 questions. So just like what's in the room. Do they have questions? Yep. Yeah, this is also in a document, a Word document, if you'd rather look at it there, but you can zoom in as much as you want in Mural, and so it shouldn't be to be able to read everything. But if you have any trouble navigating, you can't break anything, so don't worry. If you haven't used Mural before, it is super easy. Just like double click, click in one of the colored sticky notes down there, and you can start typing. So whatever comes to mind. Just as an example, or try it, or you can. Yeah. So there you go. And then in here, we'll break out into a couple separate groups so that we're not all at the same ones at the same time. So I think there's probably enough of us that we can go, well, how many hotel? Nope, we have 5. So you guys can, as long as there's just one of you at each station, then we're good. And we'll rotate every, let's see. So we have until, we'll want to reconvene about 11:45 so we can discuss our findings, like what we have. So maybe 11. Let me see what math makes sense. Hold on a second. 5 station. Okay, so we can spend about, let's do, does 7 minutes at each station seem reasonable? Is it me? Okay, we'll do 7 minutes at each station. So we'll come back. In 35 minutes. So spend this time working through as much as you'd like. Does anyone want to pick where they go, or do you want me to point you to places?
We should be able to find them.
And there's markers at each of the stations, but there's also more in the back by the little goodie bags. As well as sticky note. Okay, yeah, definitely. This is still the meeting technically, so I think we. How did you do? Participate in this activity. Just take the movement. You can, like, if you relate, you can definitely tell me. Yeah.
No, I took the page.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like
Yeah.
Definitely.
But Mural is awesome.
No, it looks beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, yes, is me. I see. It should be 2 years side change. So it's kind of really. You're just. It increases the stuff in my house only by the year.
Here, you have to understand me. So don't want to keep us in people like just too long, so if you did it. The change of. Yeah.
Please, I have another call that I thought was at 11:30. It's at 8:30.
But yeah, they want, you know, like someone wants to be free passive if they can, but it's just because she hasn't been over years, or 3 years. Or if they're not there anymore, much staff changes within tribes, you have to. Well, like, if we do it, like the recommendation would be like 2 years, because in 1 year it has 1, 2, 3 year terms. You did it 2 and then have it changes. That is good. Well, and I like some NIA does, so I can be the chair, vice chair, and I'm the chair, should like that vice chair fit down up to the chair position, so you like you change it out. Like we are being fed, so it's like the vice chair, and after that, maybe help me turn, they move up to the chair. I like the way. They call it the pathways. Like, yeah, and then they move up to the chair.
She's supposed to give us one more draft. To see if she's. Want to see it? Well, I think I saw. This is the one that was like very much modeled for what you had kind of drafted. That she put together. I'm getting this page. I don't see. I see the dog report, but I don't see that. Yeah, it's fine. There was just some stuff.
All right, we're just writing on our. But I guess we should be.
Oh,
big
not
people.
No, I
Look like once the changes are updated. Have you seen it? I don't have these. No.
Well, it's because this study is a bit different than G to G in that the tribe links to, so they're not always necessarily in leadership roles to speak for the tribe, so like. Melissa,
It's been about 3 minutes and 30.
all of us speak. Like, I mean, like she doesn't have time, you can use it or speak.
Oh,
cute. It's their easy pay.
Yes.
And then G to G.
He's gonna be like, okay, well, I thought these 1 or 2 times. They have to me. I bet.
Things.
How old is he? Is he? Yeah. Oh. My daughter, I was just like, they spent a week after education coach for overnight camp, and then this week they've been. It's like an outdoor arts camp. Yeah. I was like looking at her last night, and her hair is like pink from the sunshine, and she's got like freckles, and her nose is like structured. And I was like, you're having such a good. She did, they didn't go this year because it was the week before Westwind. I sent them to like an outdoors camp at least and 2 overnight camps back to back. Just too much for them, so they didn't go to culture camp, but it's I think they kind of like a year off to because they're on in between girl camp. Yeah, they just needed, I think they just needed it. Plus, we were there for restoration and then they'll be back again. this fall. That's what she did change.
The salmon.
The salmon
Yeah.
celebration. I don't
Yeah.
usually, because it's so much more like the casino event. So like, I do like the canoe races. That's like my favorite part of salmon celebration. Maybe, who knows?
Get around there.
The canoe ride, like.
Your stuff.
Then we. Over here. You wanna walk.
And hybrid and yeah, it's just cute. I'm actually going to be there.
Changing declaration, I would just put. changing this ship.
I'm hosting them in the plank house.
So they know who that is.
From your role, it's like.
Gold member. Yeah, I'm on
Meeting
the
location.
Oh, okay. Not your role.
Like hybrid.
Education.
Yeah, I'm the co-chair for the Culture, Education and Language Services Committee.
And also the cultural trust.
And now I'm
This
on
is
the
additional.
Oregon Cultural Trust Board for the state. And then, which I got recruited into that, and I didn't realize that it was 4 years. Those appointments, which is a long time.
More specific.
Mhm.
So you. Training.
I've completed them all. Yeah, I think I have to renew some maybe. I'm on a panel. I was actually gonna ask you, so if this meeting ends early, then we might be able to chat back up before land time for me to do my presentation, but if this goes a little bit longer, is there a place where like we could, usually Cal actually is like, I wanna go explore Salem. But is there like a cubby that I could pop into until like 4 p.m.?
Like here at Delta.
Yeah.
There's like 2 phone rooms in the hallway, so. Or 3 phone rooms, actually.
But there'll be people here and they won't mind if I'm hanging out after this.
The meeting
Oh,
of.
You can go in.
From like 2 to
Like an
4.
agenda item.
Yes.
Where like just like.
Okay.
Like the end of the. Show me I'll forward for the next.
I could tell. I was, we were saying that it's kind of
Find
like
that speed, you.
so long. I was like, I'm away.
There's unfinished work that carry it
Yeah.
over to the next meeting.
It's really cloudy this morning. I think that helps with that.
Yeah, just
The ambiance.
Yeah, well, we had a couple of really hot days, but yeah, it's been feeling pretty. Compared to the rest of the country, we've been very lucky. And now we've got fires, but. She's. I guess. I'm a fan now too. I'm a fan now too for like all areas of my life. I'm like, I just need to. Yeah, I just need to, you know, write it down. Make it happen. Dope. Oh my gosh. They're really fun. These are really cute. They're like, I do like a glitter color. I really like.
What do you do to them?
Like a pretty, like, yeah.
And I was walking down a house.
Well, it's funny, when we went to.
You spray it or you break it?
The site visit at Rock Springs, we stopped at Mount Hood to get something good. And there were these big ravens outside and one was just sitting at the window of the house and it was like. Oh. And now my Cal teacher me all the time for being the bird lady. She is, was talking to the. It was awesome. Those was like Amber, like. I was, you just had to be there. I was laughing. I was like, Dana finally had a chimichanga. When we did that one in clams. Jennifer. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's so good. Like,
Whatever Pasta.
Pasta in Italy, sushi in Japan.
Yes.
And chimichanga.
Chilaquin.
Chilaquin, yeah.
Oh, I was sad to miss that one. I feel like we need to go to
So you're doing the complaints.
Yeah, it's just been. Transition.
You going anywhere? Did you go on vacation?
Yeah.
Camper?
We went to Coos Bay. I'm actually planning right now, because the chamber does R&R, so for that week, I'm gonna take my girls up to Bellingham. I have a friend that lives there, she just had twin babies. So I'm gonna go visit her, and I was using an Airbnb on the island. It's a whistle at Daydream. And you can rent paddleboards at like the little main town on my daughters love paddleboarding. It's like their favorite. I can't I just fall right off. I'm sure I could practice and get better. I was like, I'll bring my inflatable bag.
Okay, go ahead, Dana.
About 20 more minutes left. 15 more minutes left.
Is that something that fixed through legislation?
making sure you're still here. I know a couple people have had to jump off, but. All right, so we'll take a couple minutes to share any highlights that came to mind. We can talk about any of the kind of prompts that we went through. And the question is for both people that worked online on the mural board. I saw some good activity in there, and people in the room. Just curious, thoughts that come to mind, or if you had an aha moment.
One of the things that I have appreciated is overlap of transition when you have a set people that are working in the group, and somebody leaves for whatever reason, whether their job change or whether it's just time for them to do something else or whatever. But to have a smooth transition, that kind of thing. So I don't know, so that you have, like, we have two people from each tribe, so that if one of them goes out, then the other one will stay. So you have it like tiered, so that you don't lose the whole thing all at one time. And then the other person, whoever stays, is going to kind of get the other one oriented. I think that's in the short time that I've been involved, that's been helpful. And when you showed us this crosswalk, it was wonderful to see, because I was fortunate to get to be one of the people that was working on that, many years ago now, when it was coming together and trying to make sense of it and that kind of stuff. It was nice that it wasn't something that was done and then it disappeared and not used.
Yeah.
So it's like a building process, and so it was built and it was valued and it's being used. It's it wasn't just thrown out because so many people changed in the process or whatever. So I appreciated that. So, and I don't know how that works as far as like putting it into like the formal ways of having people for whatever years of terms of service or whatever. And with our tribe, our tribal council serves for a certain number of years, and there's 7 of us, and there's 4, and there's 4-year terms, but there's two waves. And the goal behind that is if they get reelected, that you don't lose the work that was done in the process. So that was one of the things. And another one was engagement with family and parents and that kind of stuff. One of the things that I've enjoyed in our education department is they'll have family events. And it's kind of an informal way of being able to talk to the parents and find out what's important to them and why. So it's an informal way of gathering information from them, and it's a community building kind of process. And then in addition to that, just the regular ways of sending out texts. We have a way of sending out text to our general membership, getting the word out on different things that are happening, that kind of thing, whether it's a text or whether it's email. Some kind of communication, trying to get the parents to be aware of all the different things that are offered, and asking them to participate, and letting them know that us listening to them tell us what they need and want is helping us to give them what they need and want for their children. So those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. And yeah, I kind of like what you described with hearing from parents of what they need and want for their children, like doing this activity, getting your input here in person, and people who participated online on the mural board. I see a lot of comments in there. Getting your input gives us direction too. Like, what do you want for your or what do the tribes want? Like Delk is going to work on making that happen. So this input is really important.
I think off of that with the educator input, I have been really trying to focus on that in my program of like, at the end of the day, we can create all these plans and we can do all the things we want to do, but a lot of the time they're the ones actually implementing those things. So making sure that it's within their bandwidth, within their scope, within the resources that exist for them. So we're not asking them to do more than they're even able to do, or that they have a say in what they feel is realistic in their world, because they're really the ones that make all of this happen. So making sure that they have a voice in some capacity and decision making that's made by leadership.
Definitely. Sonia, would you mind sharing what you were saying about like the implementation, like the responsibility that Otella and Delk would have?
Well, just that, like, especially looking at this one over here, there was one part of it that talked about how implementation, to me, Otella's creating the plan and we're getting input. But then once the plan is created, to me, that's where it becomes the responsibility of Delk to embed it across the agency and every grant that goes out, doing a professional development on what the plan is, how it could be used, and even how it would benefit the funds that they are getting, and then so that they know that they should be doing one time of year, like their parent committee meetings, talking about the plan, so that it empowers the Native parents that are there, but it also becomes an expectation across the grantees and everyone that this is a priority for Delk, and that because what benefits our tribal communities benefits all children. I mean, we have our cultural and our language programs, but when you make those things standard, there's so many people that speak Spanish or any of that would appreciate those language pieces being recognized and honored for their children as well. So the work, them having a professional development that talks about our plan and our goals, can also help them lead the work in their own communities. But it also gives a voice to our Native families that are within those grants that they're receiving. So to me, it becomes Delk's work after it's developed. Every single person at Delk and every grant that goes out, every program that they have, the plan should be elevated and become part of a professional development to them, so that they're aware of it. Because we see with the AIA, that plan has been around since the 80s. When I started with the tribe 35 years ago, it was mailed and it was given out to superintendents, some principals, and it sat on a shelf. There wasn't anything because there was no professional development around it. It didn't talk about how it could benefit the Native students as well as other students in the community. So it's just sat. And so we don't want that to help into this plan. We want it to be across the state of Oregon, and that, to me, is the direction that Delk should take it, to elevate it in every program and component that they have.
Thank you for sharing that. And I think that's really powerful. Your example of the AIAN plan that ODE had, they did a lot of work sharing it out, but then that was it. It didn't go anywhere. So it means that we, as the state, have a lot of responsibility in what happens after Otella's done the groundwork of advising what needs to go in the plan. Like Otella's work is still going to be ongoing, of like updating the plan and seeing how well Delk is doing and implementing it. Like that's part of Otella's scope, but then Delk also will need to figure out like, how do we get it in as part of, like, how do we make this something that's all of our grantees are also aware of, or that all of our different divisions in the agency is aware of. So I really appreciate you saying that. It's a great insight. Go ahead, Julie.
I just want to make sure I understand this content. I've heard, not only this dilemma here today, but I've heard it before that from other people where it was a nice idea, but nothing happened. And there's been outreach from all different tribes, trying to get it up and running in the schools, of the school setting. Knowing that, as you said, it's not just for our kids, it's for all children. And that kind of thing. And if I understood you right, you're saying that it's DELC should be leading the way in the implementation of it. We meet, we advise them, that kind of thing. We let them know what our dreams are and that kind of stuff. But as far as like getting it in the schools, making sure that it's working, it's on them.
Right. Okay. And their staff, and not just tribal set aside across every grant program and every division that DELC has, because
Access to a
again,
lot of people.
we know what's good for our communities. We know what works. We prioritize those within our own communities. What we're saying is that this plan is statewide. It should touch all students, no matter where our tribal members are. And so if it's not elevated by DELC, then again, we're doing our own work again. We put all of this in, and it should be statewide. It's going to take DELC to do that implementation, to make sure that all of their grantees know, that every staff at DELC knows what the plan is and how it can benefit every program that DELC offers.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the other thing that Sonia, you had touched on was just capacity too, that it's not something tribes have the capacity to do, is implement all of these things. So we can't add more asks onto your plate.
Right, because the people that work in ECE, that's what they're doing. They're with children every single day. Then when it elevates to like Alyssa's level, or like even with mine, you know, we're working with HEC, we're working with teacher standard practices, we're working with ODE, we're working with every single agency, and there's only so much time in a day to get that information out there. I mean, even if you do, you know, cultural things with school districts, that's a full-time job in itself. Most of us don't have the capacity. Once you open that door, it's really hard to shut it, because it's just a capacity issue. And for our tribe, we do cradle to grave, our education specialists do. So I could be working with ECE families 1 hour, and the next I could have a college student in crisis, and the next hour I could have a IEP meeting. And so I'm going across the board. And so tribes just don't have the capacity. We give input on this. Now it's work has to be carried forward through programs and through agencies.
Right, like at the systems level, the policy level. Right. So we are one little thing away from lunch. So about like 5 minutes or so, I met someone really cool that works for OMSI, and I know a lot of tribes do things with OMSI or have plans of taking kiddos to OMSI. So Annie Douglas is here, so I will pass it over to her to talk about what she does, and then we can have lunch. So you're standing in between lunch, but no pressure.
I will go quickly because I know you all have been meeting for a while. Thank you so much for having me at this meeting, and congratulations everyone on the formation of Otella. I think this is a really exciting direction for the state of Oregon, to really be thinking about the needs of young children and families in our tribes. And so I just wanted to take some time to introduce myself. My name is Annie Douglas. I am the early learning strategist for OMSI. And what that functionally means is I get to travel all over the state and work with children, families, and early learning professionals. So that's anything from participating in community events and bringing fun hands-on activities, to leading early learning trainings that are specifically STEAM focused. So I specialize in helping early educators face and get over sometimes really big feelings about math or science and what that might look like in an early learning classroom. And so I just wanted to offer myself as a resource to you if you're thinking about what hands-on STEM programming could look like for families, for your communities, or for your early educators. All of my trainings are ORO certified. So it's pretty easy to come to your community, lead a hands-on training, and leave educators with resources that are ready to use in their classroom. All right, I know lunch is imminent, but if anyone has any questions. Yes, I see a hand in the back. I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's names.
No, that's okay. I'm Ashley from Grand Round, and I
Oh,
just
hi,
want to
Ashley.
give a shout out, to Annie. She's come to our program 2 separate times and led STEAM trainings for our staff. And I have a particularly quiet staff in that environment, and she gets them up and talking and moving, and they love having her come. So huge support for Annie down there.
Thank you so much, Ashley. Yeah, going to your learning professionals community is always a highlight. Thank you. Any other questions or thoughts or ideas? I'm also happy to work with you to design trainings that you might be interested in around STEAM. So. Okay, sounds like everyone is hungry. Thank you so much for letting me take a moment of your time, and I hope to hear from any of you soon.
We'll just contact information. Will it be in the chat and that'll be forwarded out to us, or how can we? Because I would love to contact. Our Siletz has an office in Portland, Salem, Eugene, and in Siletz, and we would definitely like to try to schedule something.
That sounds wonderful. I just put my email in the chat, and I'm also going to drop a link to a flyer that has information on all the trainings I currently offer. Again, I'm happy to tailor things for your learning community, but that's kind of a basic menu, and we can start from there. So if you reach out to me, we can schedule a time to chat and then figure out how I could meet your needs.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I will send it in a follow-up email, her contact information and the flyer.
Great.
So I'll put it in a draft right now so that I don't lose it or forget, but yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Annie. Appreciate you coming.
Everyone. Yeah, thank you again for having me, and enjoy the rest of your meeting and lunch.
Have a good one.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Well, we can have lunch now. Little Lois is here at the back. So your names are on it, on the bags. So go ahead and grab those. We do have, I think on the PowerPoint, it says working lunch, and we'll talk about the Otella advisory member recruitment, but we kind of covered that in the activity that we just did. So feel free to just talk amongst yourself, take a longer break. And I did see Alyssa on Zoom. Alyssa, did you have anything to mention before we ended this again?
No, I appreciate everybody's conversation reflections, and I agree, Sonia, with your comment of just the expectation on DELC to really take what you all create through this plan and make sure that our staff understand it and that we're able to really implement it. And to Julie's point, name if there's something we're unable to do and why that is, and make sure we're having those really transparent conversations as this goes, and identifying where there might be statutory changes need to make, systems need to develop, and how that would fit into kind of a longer term plan. So just really appreciate you all digging in. And again, I'm sorry I can't be there with you all, but looking forward to tuning in part 2.
Okay. Well,
How do you want to get it?
oh, yeah, let it be back ready to listen at 1 o'clock. That's when First Children's Finance will go. First, we'll have North.
Do you want me to stand, Dana, or what's I don't know, the in-person?
If you want to stand, you can. You don't have to. Oh, well.
Oh, I can,
Whatever,
whatever.
hands back, so.
We can follow the order of the agenda. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, go for it.
Well, thank you for having me, inviting Elf and my colleague Amanda here today. So I just wanted to take this time to provide an update on the tribal ERDC pathways project that First Children's Finance is working on. Before I jump into that, I'll tell you a little bit about First Children's Finance as an organization and invite questions after I offer some updates. So First Children's Finance is a national nonprofit organization that focuses on supporting the business side of childcare. So we have state offices in Minnesota, in Michigan, in Iowa, Vermont, and here in Oregon. Our state offices work directly with childcare business owners and leaders and provide technical assistance and consultation to help them be better business owners because a lot of the primarily women that go into the business of childcare early learning are educators and do it for the love of kids and may not necessarily have that business background. So that's what we do day to day through our state offices. Amanda and I work on the systems team at First Children's Finance, and our team works with systems like states and tribes, and we help systems big improvements to their ECE system. So that could look like doing cost studies and looking at what it costs to actually provide high quality care versus what our businesses charging. That could mean things like strategic planning and support around that. So it could look like many different things. What we're doing with Oregon is we are contracted by to help them learn about and make recommendations on the next steps that they should be taking in order to create pathways for tribal families and tribes to increase access to their employment-related daycare, childcare subsidy. So right now,
One pager on the screen, Janine.
Sorry?
Would you like the one pager to be shared on the screen? Would that be helpful? Or
sure, yeah, I think that'd be helpful. So is everyone familiar with employment-related daycare? Let's hear. No, nice. Okay. So employment-related daycare is Oregon's child care subsidy, and that is funded through DCDF on child care development funds and then state funds. So the state lends and breaks funds for this particular program. So it funds several different things, including childcare subsidies. So families who qualify can apply for the subsidy funding, and it will pay a part of their childcare costs. And then the state uses some of their funding for like quality activities and licensing and overall the support of Oregon's childcare system. And as it stands right now, there isn't a clearly defined pathway for tribal nations to access subsidies. So if your tribe has an early learning center and you charge families to participate. There's no clearly defined pathway for the tribe to receive those funds. And then on the family side, there's not really a very clearly defined pathway that allows families to access, families who live on tribal lands to access those funds. So there are questions that have come up around jurisdiction, and DELC is interested in defining what those pathways look like, recognizing that each tribe is different. Each tribe has their own early learning system. Those systems all look different. So each tribe has different needs and goals. All of the tribes receive CCDF funding. So there's a tribal CCDF funding that's a separate pot from the CCDF funding that states receive. And all of the tribes are funded at different levels. And so some tribes are able to provide more for their families and their communities than others. So really our goal is to understand DELC's system as it exists currently. Also wanting to understand each tribe's early childhood system, what childcare and childcare assistance looks like currently in your systems, and wanting to understand how DELC and employment-related daycare can come in and support, and if that is wanted or desired. So we're also taking a look nationally at what other states do to coordinate around childcare assistance and childcare subsidy and licensing. So we have been doing a scan, desk research, and also interviewing folks who work for other states and work in closely with tribes on coordinating around childcare subsidy and licensing. So we are doing a lot of learning, and the idea is that we are going to report our findings back to DELC, include a list of recommendations around next steps, and really set DELC up for and the tribes up for a successful next phase, which would include like formal government to government consultation. So we're really just kind of like laying some groundwork here in this phase. So right now we are in Oregon, some tribal visits, visiting CTQC tomorrow, and then Klamath on Thursday, just to meet with some staff at the tribes and start that learning and taking a deep dive into like, you know, tell us about, you know, the needs your families have, and wanting to understand how you want to partner with DELC. If you have plans to open an early childhood facility at some point, would you be interested in receiving employment-related daycare? What sort of needs might the tribe have around an intergovernmental agreement and data sharing, for example? Are you interested in having DELC come in and license programs that aren't necessarily run by the tribe, but that are located on tribal land? License and monitor those, or is that something that the tribe has the capacity and desire to do, and you know would prefer DELC to be hands off? In that case, what does you know intergovernmental agreement around that kind of situation look like? So really like starting to learn about each tribe's different system and what the needs are around that. So with that said, we have a kind of like short window to do some of these engagements. We're really trying to prioritize in person. We feel like that's really important to that relationship building with tribes is being together in person, but recognize that It's summertime in Oregon, and that means that the fire is happening, so that in-person engagement might not be possible. So wanted to, one, open it up to questions, and then two, just sort of ask about those engagement preferences for those of you who we haven't confirmed visits with quite yet. Is that possible? And if not, we can continue to have conversation and think about how we do that virtually.
How many of the tribes have you met with so far?
This is our first week here, so
Okay.
yeah, CT. And then meeting on Thursday, and we have a confirmed visit next week. We are meeting Cow Creek on August 6th next week. We'd love to add Siletz and Grand Bond next week if you all have availability this week. I think that would work really well.
I can shoot your information over to Deanne. Deanne Brown is our childcare director.
Okay, yeah, great.
Yeah, kind of our program manager follow, especially.
Okay.
For us, next week's kind of hard because it's powwow, so many people are off.
Okay, gotcha. What other questions?
I have a question. Can you remind me your first name?
Janan.
Janan.
Jannan.
You're coming to us tomorrow with a formal visit with yourself and that's it, or is there something else you got planned?
Well,
You don't know yet.
if you have time, Julie, if you,
I'm not gonna be there.
there,
Unless what time you all come?
it's gonna be between 11:30 and, but it'll be with lunch. I mean, the main, conversation we need to have is surrounding CCDF and supports for, any kind of, future program and what ERDC can do to support it, and what the tribal pathway looks like for ERDC, is what we're trying to.
You see it more as an informal conversation with yourself and you're just meet and greet
For the
kind of thing
department.
with you and your staff.
Yeah, that's the big, I mean, it's gonna be Dalen and I.
Yeah.
And then our other staff, so it's, but, we can just, I can connect with committee afterwards.
Yeah,
let you know.
yeah. I always feel so responsible. It's like, but I'm doing some other things, so I'm not gonna be there for you, sorry. And I don't know if they'll be able to take you out to the beach while you're there or not, but, I would if I could. Because that's a big part of our community. To go along the pathway out to the beach and then see sunset, see our tribal lands, Valdicchia, our tribal lands, and then see our Sunset Beach, and then Shore Acres, and there's Simpson Reef. It's just where our people in that area where we lived and that kind of thing. So it's big spirit place. So if I was there and I was allowed to, after you have me, I would just take you out there.
We can give them a tour. Won't be as cool as if you were there, but yeah.
Yeah, we're just want to affirm that we are not yet in the phase of the process where formal government
You're gathering.
consultation
Yeah,
is happening.
initiatives.
We're just gathering some initial information and gonna be reporting that feedback back to Delk and making recommendations about how they should, go about that tribal consultation, what each first step should look like for
Thank you, Annabelle.
each tribe.
And I just wanted to note for Tribes Online that Cow Creek and Coquel are online right now. So I know you're already in contact with Coquel and already have a visit for Cow Creek. So we really appreciate having First Children's Finance be able to do this. Well, we appreciate having PDG, preschool development funding to be able to do this work. But there's only 3 of us in the Office of Tribal Affairs. 2 are right here. So the additional capacity to expand and make things more accessible for tribes. I mean, that's really what we're here to do. So is there anything else that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly touch base with the folks that are online, and the folks that are here about travel. So our travel window is pretty short, because it's PDG funding, so things are not fast.
What does PDG funding mean?
Preschool development grant, it's federal funding, and all
There
of
was
the
a
funds-
multi-state grant competition, and Oregon is one of the states that won awards, and it was awarded to Delk for several projects, and this is one of them.
Deadline.
The federal government is allowing for 1 year with no permission to do any carryover, so everything has to be completed by December.
December? Thank you.
I heard earlier, the representative from Burns, I don't think she's on any longer, but she mentioned, that they're under an evacuation notice, and I'm curious about what other tribes might be experiencing that.
Warm
we-
Springs.
Warm Springs.
Burns Paiute, maybe even some of you, Umatilla. The
Okay.
eastern.
Yeah,
When you look at the fire map, you'll see a million acres that's on fire. And you.
I think Warm Springs was.
Warm Springs, they did some evacuation, those 3.
Yeah, so it seems like we might need to think about virtual engagements for those tribes in particular.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom. If they're answering their phones, if they're answering their emails and answering their phones. That's the thing, because they might be inundated with trying to take care of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. Our goal is to make sure that we have an opportunity to be all of the tribes. We don't want to leave anyone out, and make sure that we're including everyone's voice and perspective in our feedback and our report and recommendations that we provide to Delk.
Dana, if, for that, can you help her with the email, those 3? Like whatever kind of, which way those 3. So that at least to get through the email, whether or not they can respond or not is another matter, but at least they're informed of the opportunity.
Yes. Yeah, and we have done that. I also see Jesse put something in the chat. Cow Creek still has a few tribal members that live extremely close to the Evans Creek fire in the Rogue Valley, and that fire status is much better in the last week due to burnout and cooler temps. So
That's Cow Creek.
That's good news.
Yeah, they had really bad last year. Road.
But yeah, absolutely. I'm able to help with making connections in email and doing what we can to make virtual engagement happen.
Dana's been really great about connecting us to all of the Otella members and also, folks that are working for the tribes that aren't part of OTELA, but are connected to CCDF or early childhood and the tribes. But it's, I think, you know, like you mentioned, like there are lots of things happening, powwow or, you know, people responding to like literal fires and trying to put out literal fires. So, that engagement piece has kind of been slow going. And, you know, so it's a matter of kind of balancing, you know, what that, balancing everyone's like needs and then also, you know, running up against the clock of the grant too. So we're doing our best and, you know, that's why we're, you know, making sure that we're showing up like in spaces like this. You know, wanting to make sure that folks have the chance to engage, whatever that like. Any other
Expanded into 40,000 acres. So
Yeah.
They got real, they've got a real, good, helpful, emergency list of helpful things that they're doing for all the people that got out. And so far, I haven't read of anybody loss of life of the members. It's just their homes are gone. And some of the homes are gone. So that's gonna be hard. But they give you a list of things that you can send or bring and that kind of stuff.
The fire situation has changed a lot just in the last week or so. So I know the amount of people who were gonna be here is impacted. But there's a lot going on. So
Just stay home.
yeah, hopefully the fire mitigation work that they've been doing and are doing now can keep people's houses, the land intact. All right, well, I'm just looking at the time, making sure we get through everything. So we have Northwest Native Chamber next on the agenda. And you have their slides. Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Gina. Tatala. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Johnson. I'm an enrolled member of the Nez Perce tribe, and I have Yakima and Umatilla descendancy. I grew up on the Nez Perce Reservation in Lapwai, Idaho, and I currently reside in Portland. And at the Northwest Native Chamber, we are a nonprofit dedicated to transforming the economic landscape for tribal communities. And so our service area is Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And so in our tribal communities, you know, we're always thinking generations ahead. It's been such an honor and really a privilege to sit here and to see the visioning, even though we're just a guest today. It brought me back to my Head Start. Funny enough, I had a funny memory of being in Head Start, and it was the first time I remember learning a language word. I remember like learning for the first time that I was Native because I had never not known anything different. Like I just assumed everyone was, and like, you know, it was really those things that I still carry with me today. And so I just wanted to hold that space and acknowledge that every decision we make really is an investment in the generations to come. And that when we create safe, culturally grounded spaces, our children can grow, learn, and thrive. And we're also protecting our languages, our traditions, and the strength of our nations. And so I wanted to talk today about the Child Care Infrastructure Fund and a leadership opportunity that we have with the Chamber. So over the past 3 rounds, it has been a privilege to really walk alongside the tribal nations in Oregon. And we have really helped with that envision and investment in early learning spaces for our communities. And we know that it's not just about the buildings, it's also about our people. It's about the educators who are greeting our children each morning, the caregivers and, you know, the leaders, the matriarchs, all of those who remind us why this work matters. And so I wanted to do a quick snapshot of CCIF in general, and share some of the things that we found when doing the tribal site visits. So,
And
go
the
ahead.
acronyms, the CCIF is the Child Care Infrastructure Fund.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I know there's a million acronyms. Yes, the Child Care Infrastructure Fund. And it has created a tremendous opportunity for some of our nations across the state. And across all 3 rounds of funding, 8 of the 9 federally recognized tribes successfully applied for and accessed funding. And that was representing around $9 million in total investment for tribes and a tribal enterprise, and also $1 million going to a Native nonprofit, Future Generations Collaborative, that's located in Portland, Oregon. And so through this work with the Chamber and with DELC's Office of Tribal Affairs, we have conducted tribal site visits with all 9 tribes to date. And most of the funding, the most common type of funding that was awarded was major and minor renovations. And then we can transition to the next slide. This conversations and those tribal site visits really led to an important question, and it's how do we continue supporting tribal nations after funding, after receiving infrastructure funding? So this cohort, it wasn't just created in a conference room, it was really shaped through our relationships, through our listening sessions, our interviews, and our intentional conversations with tribes. Meeting with the community members, we really listened closely to what everyone had to share and about everyone's hopes for the future of tribal early learning. And what we heard was clear is that, it's a responsibility and an opportunity to invest in the leaders who will steward these resources for generations to come. And it's not just about the buildings, it's not just about the financial forecasting or things like that. We want to see that, that continuation of generational learning and culture. And so at the heart of this cohort, we are teaching what many of us are raised with, and that is that when we care for our children, we are caring for our future. We are strengthening who we care for, who cares for our children. And it's not just another professional development opportunity. It was a collaborative effort with Native Mama scholars, Valeria Antanasio. And so that cohort is what we have developed so far. We could go to the next slide. And then so this is designed as a 6-month leadership journey where participants don't simply attend sessions, but we really build relationships. We're going to solve problems together and learn from one another's experiences. And so participants who we are recruiting to, they can come from, those in childcare, those who might be doing tribal admin or workforce development or program leadership. It's fairly open, and it's up to the tribe to determine who they would like to assign to this opportunity. We want to make sure that it's not just limited to CCIF recipients either. Tribes are really preparing for future investments in infrastructure, and so we just want who would be in the room to benefit from those opportunities. And we are looking to really just build that capacity for tribal communities after construction is finished. Next slide. And so it's not just lecture style trainings. We really wanted to hold space for peer learning and really some application opportunities. So we'll have virtual and in-person sessions, and we will be participating in tribal site visits. And I think one of the greatest strengths is when we can get into a room together and be in community with one another, hear conversations, share stories over a meal. And so we wanted to create space for those exact moments. And so in addition, you can also receive technical assistance, some tools, and then optional Oro credit for whoever is participating. Next slide. And so we recognize that everyone in here carries so many hats and has such responsibility and, have competing priorities and still continue to show up for your community every day. And so we wanted to honor that. And what we've been really intentional about is building in participant incentive directly into this cohort. So for each tribe or tribal enterprise that is, joining this program, we will have milestone-based incentives and programs. Our tribes may receive up to $10,000 for their participation. And additional support includes things like travel assistance and flexible participation, makeup activities, and some of those reflection tools. just to ensure that participation is accessible and responsive to the realities of our tribal communities. And so I just wanted to give a quick snapshot of some of the sessions we have currently, starting in September with an in-person kickoff. And so this will be us starting to build relationships and just establish a good cohort connection. And then we'll move through a variety of virtual sessions that reflect the life cycle of their early learning infrastructure, from facilities and planning, workforce development, financial stability and sustainability, and then standards, governance, and long-term leadership. And so there's a variety of sessions there, and we can send more descriptions as well and have more information for you in our packet. So next slide. So I just wanted to thank everyone and hold space for questions. And again, just like express my deepest gratitude for your time, your partnership, and obviously your unwavering commitment to our community. And every one of you is already shaping the future of our tribal nations. And so our hope is that, you know, this cohort is just another way to honor that and uplift that work. So we wanted to hold space if there's any questions on the cohort, and we have some packets, and Dana, we can get you the digital versions of these as well to distribute.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I don't know if we have any online, but any questions online?
If there's any hands up or anything.
No, but thank you, Michael.
Yeah,
Thank you,
definitely.
Jesse.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're developing a tribal cohort. Starts in September.
September, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, awesome.
That's going to be a huge help because we would work with you and Amber for quite a while, and your assistance has been amazing on helping us achieve our goals and look to the future. So, like, yeah, whatever information you need from us, let us know.
Yeah. We'll be sure to pass out the registration link and kind of do a more targeted email communication, but obviously as tribal community, our first step is always showing up, right? And so that's kind of what this is. And we also, I did want to mention one thing, there is a flexibility, you know, so let's say you wanted to assign 2 representatives to the cohort, or like based on the session that you wanted to attend, there's some flexibility there in who you send to represent. So maybe for part of the session cohort, it's someone from planning, or it's someone from higher ed, and then vice versa, things like that. So we're fairly open to participation and who can attend.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The PD sessions, are they in person or Zoom or both?
Yeah, so it's hybrid. So the first session and the last session will be in person. The first session is really just us getting in community, getting to know each other. The last session is advocacy and governance and tribal kind of planning, things like that. And then the virtual sessions, the rest of them are virtual online. So the first 2, the in-person sessions, excuse me, are going to be like a half-day commitment, not the whole day, half-day commitment. And then the virtual, we're looking at about 90 minutes.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
The only other thing is, it's wonderful to know that you're linked to Valeria's Atanasio, the Native Wellness, the beautiful work that she's been doing. So it's neat to know that's part of what you know.
She wanted to be here today, but she's very busy, I'm sure
Yeah.
you know, but she's awesome. We love her.
Election time.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that brings it to Harry and Alyssa.
Thanks. I will share screen, and then Carrie, we can just tag team.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
So we wanted to just kind of give you all an update. Right now, we're really deep in agency request budget development. This is the biennial process that all agencies go through, and it's really the first big phase of budget development for 27-29. And wanted to share a little bit more about where we are in this process. I know we've shared a little bit of information at previous Otella meetings as well. But these are just some fast facts about our budget. Our current biennial budget is about just under 1.5 billion. There's an increase of about 70 million that we received in the 2026 session. Much of that was this 67 million as a federal fund limitation increase. So it wasn't 67 million new dollars. This was just 67 million in permission to spend existing federal funds that we had. And then there were some fund shifts and decreases here. And so our post-session budget ended up being 1.52 billion. Our anticipated base budget, which is called current service level or CSL, is sitting at 1.45 billion. And so it's a little bit lower there because we had this one-time fund shift and the one-time limitation increase. So this is how we're heading into the first phase of budget development as an agency. When we look at the big picture, we continue to receive revenue forecasts excuse me, every few months. The next one will come out in September, but we are expecting a constrained resource environment. We also know that there are particular impacts to Oregon with the federal passage of HR 1 that have significant implications for our Medicaid budget, for our Health and Human Services agencies. And we need to make sure that we're maintaining core programs and services. So that's really the focus of all agencies this biennium. With that in mind, our agency request budget is set to be revenue neutral. This means that we shouldn't be asking for a lot of new things unless we can pay for them ourselves. Anything we request should be prioritizing economic development, affordability, customer service, and protecting Oregon values. There are some exceptions to that, and that is capital projects, IT projects in progress, or if there are legislative or ballot measure mandates. So you may see some agencies that have requests that do require new money, but in most cases, any request would be paid for with existing resources. So you can see here, we did a lot of work in the spring. We entered into tribal consultation as we were trying to identify potential legislative concepts and policy option packages, which are our budget requests. We shared those with the governor in May and June to review and provide preliminary approval. And so now you'll see here, we're deep in developing our 800+ page budget that will be publicly released on September 1st. Once that's released on September 1st, there will be two more revenue forecasts, one in September and one in November, to inform the governor's recommended budget on December 1st of this year. The governor's recommended budget is required to be a balanced budget. And this is what the legislature will sort of use as a starting point as they start the legislative session next year. We'll go through 6 months of budget hearings, revenue forecasts, and agency budgets will be approved for 27-29 by June of 2027, with the new biennium beginning July 1, 2027. So you can see here that the ARB is really meant to reflect our agency's needs in terms of current and projected budget realities. It's also really meant to be built in partnership with community partners as well as the governor's office. The GRB is building off of ARB within the context of revenue forecasts. Again, has to be balanced and it reflects the governor's priorities. And then the legislature will review that. We'll have agency presentations to talk about our budget, to talk about legislative concepts and bills that are presented by agencies, by advocates, by legislators, and all of these will be passed or not, and budgets will be enacted into law for next biennium. There's a couple sections of the ARB and this is very prescribed. So we all have very long and prescriptive agency request budgets. Legislative action is meant to reflect what legislative actions were taken this biennium. The agency summary is really our chance to tell the story of the agency, how we're structured, what our goals are. Racial equity impact statements have to accompany major initiatives within the organization and any new requests. You'll have the overview of agency operations and then an overview of our grant and aid, which is all the dollars that are going out the door, including through the Tribal Early Learning Fund. All agency request budgets also have to include a 10% budget reduction exercise. These are done in 2 5% increments. And we have to be able to also explain the impact on people, services, and community, even though cuts are not necessarily anticipated. So this is something that you'll continue to see within this agency request budget. We've really taken a tact in the past of holding any tribal investments harmless, and that is an approach we intend to maintain. So while you'll see reductions to programs, operations, and other services, you will not see that applied to any tribal designations. Carrie, I'll let you talk about the legislative concepts, if that works.
Yeah, that works. We're moving forward with 3 legislative concepts. Legislative concepts are where we either have new ideas and we're proposing new laws to be formed, or we have an amendment to an existing law. You'll also hear us talk about POPs, or policy option packages, and that's actually, even though it has policy in the word of it, that's really about whether we have funding requests. So we have a few proposals that we're putting forward. One we've done in consultation with the tribes, and it's around the early literacy statute that was passed last session that we share with the Department of Education. And it's to make sure that both the words preservation and revitalization exist in statute. I believe, Dina, right, it's revitalization that's currently in statute, and we're looking to add the word preservation. We're looking to do that both where it's shared between DELC and the Department of Education, and how we share early literacy funding and efforts to support that work. It was communicated that it would be really, even though that both departments were already funding initiatives that would support preservation as well as revitalization, that it was important for statute to reflect practice and not just rely on the current leadership there. For the Early Learning Council, the council that helps us with rulemaking and then helps think about the system building of early childhood across 6 state agencies with Raise Up Oregon, exists in statute in many, many different places. And a lot of it is very old and not how things have been working for the last several years. There was a period of time where the council was actually part of the governor's office before even the early learning division existed. So this is basically cleanup work where we're just really clarifying the current responsibilities and authority that the council has. And then the new legislative concept that we're proposing is to give DELC authority around program integrity work. You can see in Alyssa's update of how big our budget is. There's typically an agency of our size with this kind of funding would have authority around program integrity, of how can we work with programs about using the funding well, and those kinds of things that right now we pretty much only have extreme measures available to us through our work with the Department of Justice. And we're looking for much more friendly and a continuum of ways of working with programs around how funding is used. So what you will see being proposed is a legislative concept that defines what program integrity is and the kind of authority that we want. Alyssa, I didn't know if you had any other reflections on any of those 3.
No, that was great. Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah. So in terms of then how do we think about our policy option packages that we're currently seeing? So to go with that authority, we are asking for funding around program integrity. So it has to be neutral and within the dollars we currently have, but we'd like to add staffing authority and folks that would particularly know how to work on program integrity. The second one is around the staffing and maintenance that's required by the Oregon Early Learning Management System that we're launching this fall. That's where we're taking 2 very old computer systems that exist elsewhere in state government, bringing it to DELC and bringing licensing and how we pay providers all into one computer system where the information can then be shared and hopefully much easier to use. And then those older systems can die and we don't have to worry about them rebooting. And then the third one is foundational operations. We're looking to, We've actually just launched this month a customer service where, because we formed Delk, we had brought together the provider payment system and our licensing together, but they had separate telephone lines, they had separate customer service, they couldn't transfer. And so we've unified all of that into one system that can then help people come in as they need instead of being hampered by technology. So we have some operational costs and functions that we want to prioritize so that we can continue to improve our customer service.
The other kind of new part of the ARB is this idea of investment concepts. So agencies are being told, recognizing that we have these constrained revenue environments, we can name other potential investment concepts that relate to our strategic plans as we develop the ARB. So we have done a number of different engagement activities and looking at our plan, which is very broad. There's a few concepts that have kind of emerged. So again, these wouldn't be for explicit funding requests, but sort of narrate ideas of what could be invested in if there were additional revenue as the governor is preparing her recommended budget. The first is early literacy and the continued prioritization of increasing early literacy across our state. Access to infant and toddler care, we know, remains a major challenge for most families across the state. Family support services in rural communities. We know the governor's recommended budget last biennium included an increase to the Tribal Early Learning Fund that was not funded. This is something we would want to emphasize and bring back for consideration. Alongside, we got to hear from Northwest Native Chamber the and for Children's Finance, the benefit of the Child Care Infrastructure Fund. So while the Child Care Infrastructure Fund resides with Business Oregon, this is also a chance to kind of tell that story and reiterate the importance of making those dollars available to providers, but to tribes in particular. And then ensuring quality in publicly funded settings. So thinking about expectations that families have when they see early childhood programs being offered by public entities and making sure that we can actually assure that that quality is being offered. So again, this is sort of a new section of the ARB that we're still understanding in terms of what the expectations are and how it's developed. If there's other ideas that you don't see here that you think are really important, please let us know, because we're still kind of in the final stages of putting this together, and I think it will continue to evolve as the governor develops her recommended budget through the fall. So we'll continue to work with the governor's office as well as the Department of Administrative Services Chief Financial Office. We're currently preparing our internal review and ADA accessibility review. The ARB will be submitted on the 31st of August, and it'll be posted on our website by September 1st. What we've done in the past and we'll do again is, if you don't want to read all 800 plus pages, we'll pull out really the relevant sections so that it's easier to kind of get at what is most impactful, what might be most useful, and be able to answer any questions folks have. We also wanted to just, oh yeah, sorry.
Is there any funds that are going to be associated with the plan at all, that for either distribution or professional development or anything around the plan?
Right now, because of the revenue neutral constraints, we don't have the ability to request additional resources to expand the Tribal Early Learning Fund the way we had outlined it in the last biennium, but that's what we would try to articulate in the investment concept. If there were additional resources, we would expand the fund to include the professional development, the coaching, the resources that we outlined last time but weren't funded. So there isn't going to be a dollar figure attached to it, but we'll lift really those ideas that the Tribal Advisory Committee had outlined before.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Are you able to share this with us via email?
Absolutely.
Oh, these slides? Yeah.
Because I'm a little bit fuzzy, and I'm probably gonna have questions, but I would need to reread it.
Yes, no problem.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
Whole language.
Yes,
It's taken me.
And the thing about this 800 pages that you've got running, the one thing that we worked on, it was last year, the year before, it's really, really important each word is really, really important. I can't remember what, there was something that we were working on and we did what we were supposed to do and we got it to a certain point, and the next people did what they were supposed to do and they got it to a certain point, but we couldn't push it through because there was something missing.
Yep.
So even though you think that 800 pages is daunting and we may not need to see it or whatever, whenever you do that thing where you said that you're willing to like bring out like bullet points, you know, please share the ones that really may affect us.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure, happy to share our current agency request budget from, that we drafted for this biennium, but released in 2024. Just to get kind of oriented to the structure of the document. And then absolutely when this next ARB comes out, we'll make sure that we have kind of a summary that highlights what it's naming. Because there aren't a lot of additional resources, this is sort of a different ARB. Our very first one that we put together in 21-23, for example, had over $500 million in new requests. And we're just not in the same revenue environment. And so this is much more constrained and really pretty narrow. So it's not the same kind of long list of wish list items that we know the system requires. It's much more reflective of kind of bare minimum needs that in this case we believe we can pay for by making reductions elsewhere in our budget. So it's also a different tool than it's been in the past. The other piece I just wanted to name that's separate from the ARB, but I know has been a topic of conversation is we had raised this question and entered into consultation about interest in moving the Early Childhood Equity Fund tribal set aside into the Tribal Early Learning Fund as a way to streamline grants management for tribes. As we engaged in consultation, we heard that not all tribes do want them to be combined. In some instances, they are managed by different people or different parts of their government structure. And so combining would complicate that. But regardless, we're looking at how we could create that flexibility should a tribe want to combine those into one grant agreement. And so now that we've kind of heard the desire and the goal, we're working to identify what's the appropriate path to create that flexibility. So it's possible that there will be a legislative request or something that emerges as we continue to investigate this. And so just wanted to circle back and let you know that we are still exploring this, and we really have appreciated the input as we look at ways to reduce barriers to accessing resources for tribes going forward. So thank you all for the time.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for Alyssa or Carrie?
The last question, I'm sorry, I didn't double check. This is looking at 2027 to 2029, yes?
Yes.
Right. Don't see anything else on Zoom, so I think we're good. So before we'll wrap up, basically all we have left is take a little break and finish up our training. But before we close, I think it would be a nice reflection of where do you see Otella making a difference in your tribe in 5 to 10 years? Or maybe in general. I think anybody could answer this question. It'd be nice to have like just a couple people to share. And then we can close.
You want to talk first?
Sure. Just from my view, I feel like this committee can make some incredible strides in developing a consistent funding source for tribes that can be relied upon for, 10+ years, based on how we collectively lay out our short-term, our midterm and long-term goals. Obviously every tribe's needs is different, but we all recognize that, and our awareness together is what is our strength. But that's really what I'm looking forward to, is how can we consistently create funding sources that land how they need to land throughout the year, throughout the biennium, where tribes can just rely on it, and they can create these legacy programs that are strong in support students where they need to be supported. So that's how I envision it.
That having things that are reliable, that you can actually count on, that work with the tribe's timeline it's a dream. It sounds simple, but
not so simple.
It's no.
One thing that I've appreciated, is the, steadfast communication.
Yeah.
From y'all to us, whether it's how we're here today, or whether it's Zoom, or whether it's, emails. You're solid. And, if the money's less, you're honest about it, you're clear, direct, money running big time as it was. You're clear about that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Do our best. I see in the chat, Jesse puts, general, a lot easier to answer for Cow Creek. Otello will help create sustainable funding and communication systems. Yeah, sustainable funding. It's definitely a theme.
And the other one that Sonia was saying, that while we are gathering this, sharing and advising and dreaming, we need you to push it forward. We need you to do that.
And that was kind of mine as well, but the sustainable funding, but what I'm excited about is Delk sharing across the state who tribes are, and continuing that story and that narrative, so that from an early age, our kids see themselves in classrooms in a positive way, and the funding and the resources that we've been able to provide so far, to teachers, and because again, we service 3 metropolitan areas, so our Portland teachers and Lincoln City and Salem teachers have resources to be able to carry our tribal message, but now it's time to get it into all centers across Oregon and funding.
I love that. I think that's such a good point, because we've kind of wrestled with how we expand across Oregon, not just the tribes, and having Otello to advise, and then us as Delk to then take it and embed it within like our grants and all the programs that does it. So, well, it's 2:00, so I won't keep you. Unless you're staying for training, then please don't go. We're gonna take like a 10-minute break or so. I also have the meeting survey to share. Did you have the different copies? Okay, awesome.
Is anybody online staying for training?
Is anyone online staying for the training? The Otello committee member training. It would only apply to Barb and Jesse. Quiet. I think, and in case you weren't here this morning, there's 3 components to the training for committee members. Barb is one of the people who did all the training, so.
She gets the blue ribbon.
She does. Barb
She gets
is
surprised.
And I should look at who else actually already did. Yes, you can. That's fine. Thank you, everyone.